You hear of these stories where an alien hijacks your brain and then all of a sudden you're acting all weird, right? You've all seen those movies. What if the alien was actually a microbe that was living inside your body? And that microbe was producing toxins that actually change your brain chemistry, which then causes you to basically act a little crazy. In the autism world, this is actually a fairly well-known phenomenon. There's actually an article, if you guys type in DBH Clostridia or DBH Candida, there's actually this interesting article by Dr. William Shaw that talks about this in painful detail. Like the biochemistry behind this is so well explained in the autism world that it's pretty well known. The problem is that unless you're in the autism world, you don't know that this information exists. And if your kid is not autistic, maybe they're acting a little anxious, maybe they have anxiety, maybe they have ADHD, but it's a weird presentation of ADHD. Except in this world where these healthy kids exist, this information is actually not known. And one of the things that's so fascinating is to go into each of these worlds, the osteopathic world, the autism world, all of these different worlds, and to take in their information to share with you. And in this case, it turns out that Clostridium, a bacteria that is commonly found in the intestines, except there's multiple different kinds. There are commensal Clostridium, which basically means they're hanging out, they're benign, they don't do anything bad. And they're just part of the crew. They're just part of the family. You know, they're a little weird, but they're nice. They're good, right? And then there are the bad actors, those cousins that you just do not want around. The guys that are gun-toting, drink a little bit too much, you know, they're very off balance. Those guys, there's that part of that family of Clostridium that are those guys. They're the thugs. They do bad things. They cause inflammation. They mess up, you know, C. difficile, right? What that does. That is one of multiple thugs, except the other thugs don't cause massive diarrhea. So you don't really know they're there. Except the thing is that your kid is just a little aggressive. They're overreactive. And there's multiple kids that I've seen where it's just literally they want to explode. Their nervous systems just explode. They head banging, punching things, throwing things, and they're just mean. Except they don't want to be mean. It's not that the kid is mean. It's that there's a microbe that has jacked their brain and actually caused a biochemical imbalance. So Clostridium actually secrete this compound, and there's multiple compounds actually, and you can look this all up. And these compounds go into the brain and literally deactivate a certain enzyme that takes dopamine and turns it into epinephrine. And it turns out that this enzyme is actually really important for mental well-being, especially in kids. I don't know about adults. I don't work with adults, but I can tell you I've seen this in, 40 kids. And they're just aggressive and they're mean. And when you treat the Clostridium, the weirdest thing is mean, aggressive, reactive, easy to anger kid suddenly converts into the kid that's balanced and not reactive. It's the weirdest thing. And I've seen this so many times that I can tell you for sure that this happens when it's there. Not that every kid has this issue, but when it's there, it causes really weird things to happen. And the sad thing is, if we miss this, if we don't know it exists, what do? We medicate the kid, right? They're anxiety ridden, they're ADHD. Oh, he won't sit still. He must have ADHD. Oh, he's too quick to anger. He probably has an anxiety disorder. So let's put him on an antidepressant and ADHD meds because that's how we fix it. No, you get rid of the microbe that's hijacking your kid's brain. And you address that. You heal their gut. You rebalance the microbes. And it is incredible what happens. And it's not just Clostridium. Candida can do this. There are other bacteria that trigger a weird inflammatory response, which then causes issues. I mean, there could be a plethora of different reasons. And the reasons are less important than the fact that these things exist. And understanding these things exist and making sure that everyone understands these things exist can make such a world of difference in the kids whom this is affecting. 98% of the population, not an issue. But if you happen to be part of that 2%, it's a big issue. It's a big issue, and then the kid grows up with this because the Clostridium never goes away. So they grow up with this, and they start internalizing the fact that, oh, well, I just can't pay attention. I can't sit still. You know, I must take medication for the rest of my life. It could be that this individual grows up with an anxiety disorder and then they come to believe, well, anxiety is just who I am. No. Who you are is different, and there's a microbe that's hijacking your brain. And I only wish people would actually know that this exists, because there's probably a much larger percentage of kids than we realize who are labeled as ADHD plus or minus anxiety disorder that may have this or other gut imbalances. And if you can help me get this message out there and have every parent know that at least this exists, and hopefully at some point every doctor to know that this exists, and there are ways to test for it, it doesn't cost that much money, and testing for it, identifying it, treating it could make a permanent life difference for these kids, and maybe some of you adults. Help me get this message out. Let's make the world a better place for all these kids. Let's do whatever we need to do to help all kids thrive. And that happens by awareness and information. So I thank you for being such an amazing part of this community and to help me get this kind of awareness out into the world so every parent everywhere knows at least that this is possible. Thanks for watching. This is Dr. K.